Hi, welcome back to the Political Beat. I'm Pat. This is Chip. We cover City Hall for the London Free Press and LFpress.com. I'm in a great
We've
mood.
missed you folks.
Yeah, I'm in a great mood today, Chip. I don't know about you.
Mr. Grumpy Pants?
But I am...
Oh, come on. It'll have an edge. It'll have an edge.
Spreading my charm around with
a Q-tip. Yes.
That's right, around the newsroom. Who wouldn't work in this joint? But I am working on an interesting story today. The Sunshine List, which is basically, if you're on the, if you work for the government in Ontario and you make more than 100 Gs a year, you're on your salary and your name becomes public. London firefighters. We have 370, roughly, members of the London Professional Firefighters Association. 229 of those 370 made 100 Gs or more last year. That is more than double the year previous. Your thoughts on that?
340?
There's 370 of them in total.
370 and
229 made 100,000 or more.
So like two-thirds of them
Two-thirds, yeah.
are making over 100 grand.
When the average Canadian salary is, what, $40,000 a year?
Jeez,
I digress.
Pat, I think I want to be a firefighter. Don't you? Huh? I guess put out fires.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
actually, I like to start fires. That's why I'm in journalism. How about you?
Yeah. But it's up from 105 a year before. It's been skyrocketing. Now it's gone absolutely stratospheric. The Firefighters Association, like a pretty articulate guy who runs it, and he says, look, we're not hiring. So if a firefighter retires, they're not replacing him. So the total complement is down. So more guys are working overtime. And that's a big contributing factor.
That's right.
Okay, I get that. But same Firefighters Association is going to arbitration with the city this year to seek 2.8% annual raises over a 4-year deal.
Each year?
2.8% raises annually, yeah.
I want to be a firefighter.
So, so you're looking at 229 firefighters making $100,000 a year or more.
One 2.8.6.
And that number is just going to go up. And I am...
it's a little rich.
Well, I think part of what I would say is this. I think the public grows frustrated with firefighter and police salaries, right? Because there's a wage parity there, right? They're very similar paid. But I think most people, even the fiercest critics of police, will say they get paid a lot, but geez, that's a tough job. We need those guys. There's a dimension to the firefighter discussion in the public that's a big pay. That's a big salary. And you don't do a lot to earn it. That's what a lot of taxpayers say.
Well, when we need them, what's the old expression? They also serve who stand and wait. So we rely on them to save us 24/7, 365 days a year. It's not a traditional job. They're not making widgets. I understand all that.
That's very
but
true.
it really does get to a point where we start to say, whoa, making how much? And appreciate, of course, that the $100,000 sunshine limit has been around for how many years?
Oh, don't give me that red herring that it's been around for 20 years, so it should be 140. The average Canadian salary is roughly $40,000 a year. 100,000. You're making a ton of money.
Oh no, I'm not disputing.
I don't live in a gated community like some people out here,
right.
but I can tell you, if I was making $100,000 a year,
you're going to get me grumpy.
I'd be a pretty happy guy if I was making $100,000.
I'd like to make $100,000.
That is in my opinion, you are a wealthy person if you're making $100,000.
I agree.
So,
wouldn't we all like to?
Yeah. So,
but I'm simply saying that level. I acknowledge the argument that's made that $100,000 number keeps getting increased because of the cost of living and all those other things.
But it's a good benchmark. $100,000.
Oh, it shows who's making a lot of money, who's on the public teat.
Yes, and I think that, like I said, I think would you agree with this? That there's a special level of kind of passion in the discussion when it comes to firefighter pay that's not there with the 88 city managers that make $100,000. People might not like that, but they don't get quite as impassioned about it because there's a sense that the firefighters are overstaffed, that they're overworked. This is the cynical perspective. I get this in emails, I get it in tweets, I get it all the time.
No. But what happens is it's because that level of criticism increases as we see more and more and more of them over the $100,000 mark. So I think that's related to it.
You know what I will say though also? If the job of a union is to ensure that its members are well taken care of,
they're doing well.
The London Professional Firefighters Association deserves like Best Union of the Galaxy award. Good for them.
Maybe they could represent Free Press employees and work some wonders with us. What do you think? Could you find a way to use $100,000 a year?
That's tempting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about red light cameras, which will only cost $50,000 a year every year to operate even one of them. It's very expensive, and red light cameras basically they get mounted at intersections. They take a picture as the light turns red, then a split second later they take another picture. If a vehicle enters the intersection after the light has turned red, picture's processed, and a ticket for $300 and something is mailed to the vehicle owner. Used in 6 municipalities in Ontario now. Council has voted overwhelmingly to move closer to making it a reality here. This is a very interesting issue because they've become really widely used in the U.S. There's a backlash brewing against them. And the question is, do they work? And I spoke with a guy from the Traffic Injury Research Foundation, which is a totally impartial, nonpartisan group in Ottawa. And in a nutshell, yes, these things save lives. So he sees it as an expensive project, yes, but it's a very good investment.
And the police chief supports them as well.
The chief is all for them, too. Yeah.
Because they save lives. And, you know, well, quite frankly, given the quality of driving I see around the city here, anything that can help have people obey the laws, like not run red lights like Mr. Scofflaw here, I think is a wonderful thing.
You should have you should have a morning radio show where you could just go on about bad traffic and kids on your lawn.
We could get into fluoride and all sorts of other things if I had a morning talk show. But
right.
Well, anyway, let's not go there.
Drivers in London are fine, but I will.
No, they're not.
But I will say this:
there's the young punks, all you guys behind the wheel that think you're the only person on the road. It's you people. It's your demographic, Mister.
My high performance.
Your high performance Chevy Cruze.
Yes. That's right. If you see the
I'm pitching to an older demographic, people who are responsible.
You don't have to talk into the camera, Chip. They know you're talking to them. You don't have to be.
You don't have
to box me out. But part of what's great about this job is you have the opportunity to do research on things, right, and really learn a lot. I didn't know if red light cameras worked. I got to spend a good 6 or 7 hours yesterday reading about it, talking to experts, researching it. I am satisfied now that they do indeed work. That if the stated purpose is to save lives and help people, if
you're looking for an argument, you're not going to get one from me.
I'm just saying.
Other than about your bad driving.
Right, yeah, my bad driving, yeah. But I think that it's a really interesting thing, and isn't it fascinating how red hot people get about issues involving traffic and garbage collection.
Potholes.
Those are the issues that really get to people.
It's in your face every day.
Absolutely. It's
Public transit, too.
Do you want to talk about an issue that is not in your face every day, and most people probably don't understand, and why would they? Even I have trouble understanding it, and it's technically my job. The industrial land development strategy, which is really an effort to sort of chart the course of the city's economic future. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Very briefly, and I won't make it complicated. City is trying to get jobs. They believe that by having a large supply of industrial land ready to go, shovel ready as they call it, so it's serviced and all they need to do is to say, okay, Mr. Big Company coming in, here's a property for you. They think this is the way to go, and there seems to be a lot of support for that. The problem is we don't have a large enough amount of land or enough land in the right places. So they have this strategy to bring online to acquire a whole bunch of land, particularly in the 401, 402 corridor, and to make it shovel ready. They need a whole bunch of money to do this. The city's committed $40 million for the next 5 years, and they're looking for another $40 million from the provincial government and from the federal government. And
a total
$120 million. That's an awful lot of money, and it's a big gamble, but they're setting it as priority number 1 at City Hall.
And again, for the uninitiated, I guess there's no market for the private sector to buy and make shovel-ready industrial land. So the city buys the land, does all the work, and then when Acme Corp comes around, they want a 400-job factory to build, the city sells them the land. But the question is, is industrial land the way to go? I mean, is that the investment to make? Is there industry that's looking for this land? Is this really when was the last time a major industry arrived in this area? Probably Toyota a decade ago.
Well, we had Dr. Edgar. We had a few other ones locally.
I know, but you know what I mean?
But the thing about London is, for some reason, industry or the private sector doesn't want to acquire land here and then, in the normal market forces, then sell it and develop it. The city has to jump in and fill this void and have all this land available, unlike other centres. That's a little bit concerning, because it sounds like people who get land together and work in other communities and put out the welcome mat for industry, they aren't interested in doing that in London. So the city here has to get in the driver's seat and do this. Right. I find that's a little bit disturbing, because, quite frankly, that shows a lack of, I think, confidence, perhaps, in the city and its prospects on the part of the private sector.
But that's the reality we have. Yeah. And I just think you're looking at a $120 million investment, a 21st century investment that I wonder if is hoping for a 20th century return that may not be there.
Yeah, it's maybe old style thinking that, yeah, if you buy the land, they will come, and, you know, it's a gamble. It's a very expensive gamble. I don't know if it's going to pay off.
I just don't know how wise a gamble it is, but it is indeed a gamble. Do you want to talk about Councillor Stephen Orser's online mishap?
You are the
Basically,
internet wizard. Go ahead, please.
Basically, he posted to Facebook. Like, there's a guy who criticizes Councillor Orser pretty regularly, and just like a regular Joe. And Councillor Orser posted to Facebook a picture that this critic had previously posted to his own Facebook page of some of his student ID cards. So Councillor Orser then shared that on what is technically a public page, although you have to be a member of it. It's an Old East Village kind of page, and it's run by one of Councillor Orser's friends. And his point was, this guy who criticizes me all the time, he's got his real name, and then he's got his Facebook name, which is the guy's first name and middle name. So when you see criticisms from these two names, it's actually the same guy. That's why I shared the picture, so everyone would know that. Kind of a convoluted explanation, but the issue was raised with us that this is a real no-no to share someone's private information, even if it's just their student ID number and their picture and their name. You don't do that. If you want to share your own, that's fine, right? But to share someone else's is not a good move. He makes no apologies. The guy who he sort of tweaked with the posting, he said that he'll continue being critical of the councillor, and he's really upset that this happened. I don't know. Steve seems to get himself in some hot water on Facebook and Twitter on a regular basis, to say nothing of the Free Press comment section. I'd sort of throw my laptop out at this point, but that's...
Well, with all due respect to our younger demographic, this is all so much so high schoolish. It's just like, I mean, honestly, grow up. We have the social media culture is very narcissistic. It's very snipey. It's back and forth.
Yeah,
it's anonymous. It's quite frankly, it's just, for an older guy like me, it's just tiring, and grow up, people.
Yeah, and
Stephen included.
Well, I think that when you take on the role of a politician, you are going to take a beating.
Oh, absolutely.
And you got to be ready for that.
That's right.
He admitted, and he said, you know what, it wears me down. And it does, because he takes a bigger beating than anybody. But we can take a beating too sometimes in this job, and you got to just kind of let it go.
That's right. It's called thick skin.
But it's not easy. I feel I'm in a better mood now than I was when we started.
Talking about it, eh? Just talking about it.
Just letting it all out. It feels really good.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Are we done?
So thanks for watching, and join us next time at lfpress.com.